Richard Radcliffe, who's a great friend of this show now, unfortunately for you, because the problem still keeps going on, but lovely to see you nonetheless. What number of foreign secretaries are you on now that have promised to do something?
Yeah, this is now number 5.
Right, in that 2,000 days.
Yeah, in 5 years. Yeah, and actually that was a point that Nazanin made to the Foreign Secretary yesterday. So she spoke to Liz Truss, who, in fairness, took the time to call early on and say, listen, you're a priority, we're doing all we can. I met the Iranian Foreign Minister. I'm hopeful that we're going to carry on and keep pushing and you know, I want you to know that you matter. And yeah, Nazanin said, listen, I mean, with respect, I've had promises like that before. And Dominic Raab, when he was Foreign Secretary, you know, promised me, spoke to him a number of times, and he said, I'm not going anywhere. And then politics intervened, and here we are again. So it's not promises we're looking for at this stage, it's results.
And is there any sense that Liz Truss is going to have more traction with the Iranians than Dominic Raab or those previous other Foreign Secretaries?
Look, I think it's clearly tricky and clearly, you know, there's stuff in the background around government disputes, and that was in the discussion with Liz Truss and the new Iranian Foreign Minister. She's new, and actually on the Iranian side, he's a new Foreign Minister, new government there, so that might be different. And one of the things, obviously, you know, we've had 4 men. Now Liz Truss, you know, will understand as a mother in a different way. So it might unlock things, it might not. I sit here after 2,000 days, obviously, you know, I mean, it's nice to get nice words, it's nice to feel that people care, and that's a lot better than the absence. But at the same time, sympathy hasn't got a home to date. So, you know, we'll be looking to see what actions happen. And I mean, I didn't speak to the Foreign Secretary yesterday. I spoke to James Cleverly, the Minister of the Middle East, and was probing him as to, well, what happened in New York? What did they say? What did they, you know, what's going to happen next? I know that you know, you said, listen, there's Nazanin and there's others that need to come home, and they said, well, OK, well, we need our money paid, and it was as blunt as that. But that's kind of a restating of what's been said behind closed doors for years now. So what actually is going to happen? And yeah, I'm not clear there is anything that's going to happen. Now, it might be that's just behind closed doors, and that's not for us to know and not for me to say on telly. But I'm not sure that there is anything that's
So the nub of it is, for those that haven't had to follow it as closely as you've lived it and missed some of the detail, the nub of it is that she's effectively being held hostage because the Iranians are owed money by the UK from the past. No quibble that the money is owned, but a quibble to paying it to the regime because they're not recognised, for want of a less clumsy expression. If that isn't going to change because the UK can't be seen to change and the Iranians want their money, it's tough to see where you go, isn't it?
I mean, it's certainly a standoff, and that's a point I said to... I mean, I spoke to the Foreign Secretary last week when she just took over before she went to New York, and I said to her, listen, I told this to your predecessor, and I told it to his predecessor, that if you don't settle the debt, Nazanin's going to stay there, and that's been proven true. If there's a standoff and both sides don't move, and in fairness, there have been negotiations, so there may not be a complete standoff, there may be some creative way through. But yeah, I'm sure this could drag on, and that's partly why we went to number 10 to say, listen, it's 2,000 days. That's a long time for ordinary people's lives to be held on. And we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones.
You took Gabriella with you yesterday, of course. I wonder how she's coping through this, because we've been, Richard, unfortunately, with you on a number of moments when she was in Iran, when she came back from Iran, first day of school. I mean, they're moments that her mum should be alongside her as well. And yesterday, taking her to number 10. How is she doing? Yeah,
I mean, getting bigger, understanding more. You know, probably more settled into being British and you know, glad to be back at school like lots of other kids who, you know, didn't really like COVID and being locked down for so long. But yeah, those landmarks have gone past. She's not there regularly. I mean, for Nazanin, that's really tough, and sort of birthday parties and everything else way. And also when Gabriella's ill and all the things as a mum you'd want to be there for. And for Gabriella, in some ways, it's the life she's known, but she will. You know, of an evening, cry and ask when mummy's coming back. Not every evening, but certainly when tired or when daddy's not, you know, imposing bedtimes earlier than she... You know, all the ways in which kids would look to you know, want a mum's cuddle. Yeah, you know, it is what it is, and we hope it ends as soon as it can.
How is Nazanin doing? You know, it's unbearable that she's missing those moments with her daughter, missing her time with you. We've seen some very dark moments during those 2,000 days. Where is she now, do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, in some ways now is easier than before.
Yeah.
She's at her mum's and dad's. She's stuck there, but she's not in prison. She's not in solitary confinement. She's not being tortured and all the horrible stuff. It drags on, and there are ups and downs with that. And I mean, in fairness, when there was the reshuffle last week, really distraught and bereft that we've lost the person that we were looking to protect us, and now we need to see where we are, the new person. Yesterday on the phone call with Liz Truss, there was a bit of an offload of kind of, listen, I've been promised before, you know.
Yes.
At the same time, after that phone call, she was lifted by the fact that the Foreign Secretary had called her. You know, that's still a big thing. And, you know, although the human level is, listen, talk is cheap, it's still actually, talk is something.
Yeah.
How do you stay optimistic?
So at the moment, I'm not super optimistic. I mean, I think what the government was trying to say to us, listen, we got close in the summer. We're still talking, so that's hopeful. It's not like it's all packed away, and that's true. At the same time, we've been here before. We've had lots of drift. I do worry that, you know, it will drift, and it won't stay stable drifting. It will then get worse. And, you know, as Kate said, we're being used as hostage. We're being used as a bargaining chip. What that means is, if they don't get what they want, they'll look of ways to prod it, which will mean Nazanin back in court, will mean, you know, threats of prison and so on. So, hopefully, you know, the government's being discreet and coy, and actually there is more going on. But if there isn't, I think bad times are coming.
Can I just ask, because I put the piece together that we just saw a few minutes ago. Does Gabriella get to FaceTime her mum now? Because she's at home, and what are those conversations like between them? Yeah,
and that's a big difference from prison. You know, so in prison it would be a sort of a phone call with a recorded message intervening to say you're in prison. So now FaceTime, you know, it's probably like it was for me when calling the other way. When I was, you know, so sometimes Gabriella will be really engaged. Sometimes it's, I'm sorry, there's TV on, I can't talk now, and probably, yeah, that chance to be able to sort of talk to him. I mean, it was so when it was Gabriella's birthday, I think Nazanin tapped the telephone at her party. It was important for Gabriella to take the phone round and show her to all her friends that this is my mum, and mum, that these are all my friends. So that kind of connect the worlds up.
Which is a start. It's no replacement for real life, but as you say, you have to hold on to things. Can I just ask you at the end, how were you? Because you've served 2,000 days as well, and you always say so calm and collected for the reason of trying to keep the situation calm, but you must be worn out.
Yeah, up and down. It's definitely attritional, and definitely, you know, you don't catch me on telly with the bad temper moments, but there are some, some tough times. And certainly, I do think for me, when we went past the end of Nazanin's sentence and she didn't come home, that kind of, well, where do we go from here? There was a little bit of me with the minister yesterday. As like, well, where do we go? I mean, I don't hear where we go from here, which is not reassuring. So, I mean, we live it one day at a time. Hopefully next time I'm on, it's been unfair to the government and this will all be over, but we may need to keep going for a long time.
We'll hold